Today we are going to learn about the Magna Clave, which is just a very large autoclave for sterilizing instruments. So to begin with, we're just going to look at the unit itself and give you a little bit of information about the buttons and dials, and then we're going to go over how to actually run a cycle. Okay, so one of the first things that you're going to do is you're going to check the water level, the top of the machine, okay? And there's a fill line back there, and the water should be up to the fill line, which it is. So we are in good shape. We don't need to add any water at this time. But if you did, you would find it in the bottom cupboard, and it's distilled water. Okay, you must use distilled water in this unit. And then I'm just going to describe a couple of the buttons on the side here. There's some display buttons here, and as you can see, it says power, sterilize, heat on, and open door. Okay, so these will be illuminated or lit up during those particular cycles within the system. The next dial is to indicate that an adequate temperature has occurred. The dial below that tells you about the pressure within the chamber to make sure it's at an adequate level, and it should be in the green level for both of those. Below that is the temperature dial. We don't ever mess with the temperature dial. It stays at 270 all the time, but you might want to glance at it. Perhaps someone changed it that shouldn't have. So it should remain at 270 at all times. And there's a little note there to remind us of that. Below that is the button that you will be using. It's the function button. It's always located at the power level, and then when we go through the cycle, we'll be using the other positions of fill, sterilize, and vent. Below that is the timer. We will be setting the timer at 30 minutes to run a cycle. Okay, once we begin a cycle, okay, the first thing we want to do, the door should already be open, so we're just going to open up the chamber, okay, and then we are going to fill some water within the chamber. Okay, it does it automatically by just turning the dial from power to fill. Okay, and you can see some water starting to flow in here, and then we're going to let that flow in here until it covers the little tab right there on the front. It says fill to cover plate. Okay, so we are going to wait, takes a minute or two for enough water to flow in there to cover that plate. You can kind of see the bubble of water coming up. Okay, it's starting to cover the plate now. Once it covers the plate, which will be in just a brief second, then we're going to go over here and we're going to turn the dial to sterilize. Okay, that will stop the water from coming in when we get to the appropriate level of water. Okay, so now we're ready to load the instruments into the trays themselves, and I'm going to show you the trays themselves first. We have two trays. One is a half circle, semicircle, and that holds the big cassettes. The cassettes should always be in the upright position like that. Yes, let's demonstrate the incorrect position. You don't want them stacked on top of one another or stacked flat like that either. The reason you don't want them stacked like that, the airflow and the heat cannot penetrate and go around each one of the cassettes. You never want to stack it too tightly in there. You always want a little bit of looseness between the items. The other rack is a flat rectangular rack that will be able to be placed on top of this half circle rack. And again, we've placed the instruments far apart from one another, and you don't want to overstack it. Okay, and so we're going to lift both up, and then we're going to place them, slide them right into the autoclave. Okay, and then we're going to swing the door shut. Okay, and then to close the door, there's a big lever on the right hand side, and you're just going to pull down, and as you can hear, it kind of snaps shut. Okay, now we're ready to go back to the dial at the bottom, and we're going to set it for 30 minutes. Okay, all right, and now we're ready to go and do some other clinical jobs. This takes about 45 minutes to an hour. We have to wait till the heat rises to the appropriate temperature, which was 270 degrees. When the cycle is complete, the unit will give out a very large buzz sound. Okay. Once you hear that buzz sound, you will step back into the room here, turn the dial to vent. Okay. And then you will have to wait until the upper open door indicator display is lit. Once it is lit, and you've recognized that the temperature dial is down to 0 and the pressure dial is down to 0, you can open the door. You will open the door by pressing this button, if I can get it. Okay, there you go. There's a button right behind the handle. So you have to push that in, and at the same time lift up the lever. Okay, so you push in, hold it, and lift the lever up, and the door will open. And the cycle is complete. You'll just leave the door open about an inch and let the instruments dry for about 30 minutes. Okay, and after the 30 minutes, you'll take the instruments out and put them away.